quite well. But when Jim was about 12 or 13, so Bob was, around 9 or 10, I was 2 years behind Bob. We would start going out a few times a week to hit after my father got home. So we'd always go out. Jim would be the first one to hit, and hit, and hit, and hit, and hit. And however, me and Bob we both got very good at seeing the ball come off the bat, so that was a good time. But Jim would hit, and it would always have to end with him being able to have 5 straight good hits back to back to back to back to back. That took a long time. So basically, Bob at that point would hit when there was still some light left, not that much light, but some light, and I'd always hit pretty much in the dark. That might be why until I was 14, I honestly was the best, but I actually peaked at that time. So, all right. So our times as kids were wonderful. My dad was always there for us. He coached us in Little League. All of our teams were all quite good. We all played on our school flag football teams and basketball teams in grammar school and junior high. And I have to give a shout out to my mom right now, because although my mom had not ever played a single sport in her life, she learned an awful lot about what we did, about our teams and the sports, and she was always out there. So I know my mom was always there. She wasn't one that, because she wasn't actually growing up in sports, but she changed that because she wanted to be near us. And then church was always a big part of our lives. My dad would always make sure that we would be up for church on Sundays. Although when we were kids, my dad was working 6 days per week from about 5 in the, well, he would leave home at around 5, not get back till 7 or 8. And so he was working 6 days a week, yet he still made sure that we all got to church, and we were all involved with the kids groups and that. My mom was not too fired up yet at that time, but it was actually later when my mom did get to be extremely fired up, and now she's the person that you all know. So Bob was always, as Jim kind of stole my thunder there. No, I'm kidding. What you said, Jim, was great. Bob was always extremely social. He was he liked to lead. He was always out in front. He was always extremely funny. He was definitely feisty. Bob basically fit extremely well in between me and Jim. So Bob was able to be close to us both, which was nice. So just a few thoughts. How am I doing on time? Okay. Oh gosh. No. Okay. So kind of just some thoughts that I have from the youth. Me and Bob shared a room, and any of you siblings who have shared a room know what that's like, right? So you kind of get to know the other person quite well, including their smells and things like that. So yeah, that was great. I actually played when Bob was 12 in Little League, and I was only 9. I got to be on the major team with Bob. So I basically sat that whole year, I got to watch Bob up close. Bob was a catcher, and he was honestly he was as good behind the plate as I have seen in my life. There were guys who had always been able to steal a base, and yet when they would go up and Bob was behind the plate, those guys didn't stand a chance. So, and it was so fun watching their faces when they were out. So, obviously the Timpanogos thing, a lot of you people at the cause have heard about that. Try to make this short, but that was kind of a cave that when we were on a trip, Bob was probably 10, I was probably 8, and Timpanogos was something kind of on a mountainside where you went up on the mountain. You just cursed back and forth and back and forth, and Bob and I got tired of basically waiting, so we essentially ran up to the top, and we sat up there. Then I know Bob said, I bet if we just went in on the tour of the cave that we'll be back. Well, that didn't turn out to be true. So we actually kind of snuck in. We just kind of walked in with another group, and we're on this tour, and I remember Bob saying this tour is taking a long time. So when we got out, you walked out somewhere else from where you walked in, and we saw my mom and dad, and my dad was giving us the look that my dad, when his head would tilt a bit, he was off a ways. So Bob and I started to run, and it was safe, but not completely safe because it was on the side of a mountain. And I was always good with, I was fine. We were both fine. But to be honest, why I share this is because I only learned a few years ago, because Bob said that he had nightmares about that for a long time. And I learned that it was because of me, because he felt that he had put me into harm's way. So, all right, I got to get going. Okay, then came high school, as Jim said. Bob went to West Covina High, where he obviously played football all 4 years, played basketball a year or two, and he was on the baseball team, and he was great. Bob basically was, whatever Bob did, he liked to lead. He was always there. We were very involved with the group at church, and Bob basically liked to lead there. He was going to Campus Life and involved with that, and Bob was beginning to become a gifted speaker. Bob was just always so efficient in things that he did. So I do want to share one thing during this time. I had more, but my time is going to get too short. If you ever really give me a close look, do you ever notice how my nose leans a little to the left? That's because one time me and Bob were at the beach. I don't know why we're at the beach, because we don't like the beach, but we were at the beach, and we're out there, and sure enough, I was turned like this. Bob put his fist right there and screamed my name, so of course I went like that, and blood coming all over at the beach. And I think when we got home, I tried to tell Dad, I think something happened to my nose, and my dad obviously just said, just to shake it off. So, one thing I do want to share during this time, during Bob's high school years, that I do think back was the vacations we took, because we would always go on these trips right before school was starting, which meant right before football. So we'd be in the car, and back then our trips were to just be in the car most of the day driving. Then whenever we'd get to the next town, Bob and I would always find a park. Bob was 16 by then at least, so we could take the car, and we would always find a park,